The wind howled like a hungry wolf, clawing at the eaves of the old cabin. Inside, nestled beside a dwindling fire, sat Elias, his beard frosted with ice despite the heat. He'd been warned about staying so late into the season, but the lure of solitude in the mountains had been too strong. Now, the silence outside was more oppressive than any storm. He'd heard the stories whispered in low voices by the villagers, tales of the winter walker, a creature born of the frozen depths. It was said to stalk the snow-covered paths, its eyes burning like embers, a gaping maw filled with teeth like shards of ice. Elias scoffed at the tales, attributing them to the overactive imaginations of those who feared the changing seasons. But tonight, the wind seemed to carry a different tune, a low, guttural moan that vibrated through the very bones of the cabin. A scratching at the door made him jump. He had no visitors, not this far into the wilderness. Heart hammering, he cautiously approached, the firelight flickering across the warped wooden panels. He strained his ears, breath catching in his throat. The scratching came again, more insistent, followed by what sounded like a soft, dragging sound. He peered through the small peephole. Darkness, a vast, absolute blackness that seemed to absorb the firelight. He pressed his eye closer, trying to penetrate the void. Then he saw it, a pair of eyes, glowing a malevolent red, slowly rising from the bottom of the peephole, followed by a sliver of pale, leathery skin. Elias recoiled, stumbling backward, a strangled cry escaping his lips. The scratching became a furious pounding, the wood groaning against the assault. He turned, desperately looking for something, anything, to defend himself. His hand landed on the iron poker beside the fire. He lunged back to the door. The pounding had ceased, replaced by an eerie silence. He gripped the poker tightly, his knuckles white. He held his breath, listening, every muscle in his body coiled and ready. Then a low, rasping voice, like the grinding of glaciers, echoed through the wood. "Let me in, little man. It's cold out here." Elias didn't answer. He couldn't. He could only stand there, rooted to the spot, his eyes wide with terror, as the scraping started again, this time at the window beside him. He could feel the cold seeping through the wooden frame, the air turning frigid, as if the very breath of the winter walker was chilling the room to the core. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him more than the winter outside, that the stories were not just stories. He was not alone, and the night, and perhaps his life, was about to take a very frightening turn. He braced himself, gripping the poker with renewed determination. But a sliver of cold fear pierced the resolve to fight, a haunting voice whispering in his mind. "It's already inside.